So we'll start with an ERP software. So what is an ERP software is what we'll talk about. So ERP software is a software which a company uses, an organization uses, an enterprise uses to control its resources. Okay. So for example, Durgesh is from PepsiCo. So at PepsiCo, what are the resources? So PepsiCo as resources has glass bottles, they have crates, they have sugar, they have water, they have CO2, they have salt, they have concentrate, okay. They have caps, they have plastic bottles, okay, and they have plastic caps, and they also have shrink wraps with which they shrink wrap their plastic bottles when they send them out. Okay. Now this is on the raw material side. This is their raw material. Finally, when the goods are made, they are finished goods. The Pepsi bottles, the Mountain Dew bottles, okay, the 7 Up bottles, the Slice bottles. All those bottles are uh, are are also resources, right? They are lying with you. They are your company assets. You, what do you want to do with them? Okay. Similarly, people like Durgesh, they are resources. You want to manage your resources well, you meant to manage your people well, you want to give them a good career, a good job, a good way of life, a good salary, so that they continue to stick with you. Okay, so you want to manage your people. PepsiCo also has a lot of cash. They have money. They need to manage their money. Money coming in, money going out. Okay, all of that needs to be managed. So they use an ERP to manage that. Okay, they also do a lot of purchasing. They procure a lot of things. Okay, all the raw materials we talked about, they procure that. They also procure services. So they every day 5,000 trucks from PepsiCo are moving around in India. Okay, delivering PepsiCo products to various locations. Okay, all those trucks need to be managed. A lot of them are owned by the organization. A lot of them are bought as services from transporters. Okay, so that need to be managed. So an ERP software helps you in managing your resources, people, money, uh, raw materials, finished goods, assets, okay, and a lot more things. Okay, so that's an ERP software. SAP is a kind of a ERP software. So SAP is a German software company which was started in 72 by 5 IBM employees. Okay, they gave this idea in IBM. IBM did not find a lot of value in the idea, so they started their own organization. System application and program is the name which they started with. We don't call out this name any longer. It's now called systems applications and programs. But also you would not hear of the long form of the acronym any longer. People don't talk about that. It's just SAP now. Okay, the headquarter is in Waldorf, Germany. That's where they do a lot of development, and that used to be the biggest development center until recently. And now you're having a lot of development being done from the Whitefield office of SAP in Bangalore. Okay, and there's an even bigger office coming up near the airport in Bangalore, which will be the largest seating capacity for SAP developers around the world, and that's also going to be bigger than Waldorf. Okay. So what are the various ERPs from SAP? So in the world of ERP, when you look around, if you are in India, you would have heard about Tele, you would have heard about Marg, you would have heard about Zoho. All these are ERP applications, okay, of a very small nature, uh, not very heavy on the organization, easy on the organization's pocket, okay, but also not allowing the organization to manage a lot of stuff. Tally, for example, allows you to manage your inventory and your finance. Okay, people management is not part of Tally. Asset management is not part of Tally. Okay. Similarly, Marg and Zoho is a little bigger than these, but still smaller than SAP. Then you have Microsoft Dynamics. Then you have BAAN. Then you have JD Edwards. One of our pupil here today in the class has been a JD Edwards consultant for a long time. So these are all ERPs from different companies in the world. From SAP, we have an ERP called R3. Okay, some companies are still using it. That would come as a surprise to you, but R3 is still being used by some companies around the world. Okay, then you have SAP ECC, which is the later version of R3. Then you have the S4 HANA, which is the latest version of the business suite from SAP. You have SAP by design, which is a smaller ERP from SAP, totally cloud based. You cannot install it on premise at all. You cannot make a lot of changes to this because it is a SaaS product. Like you have Microsoft Office 365, like you have uh, Canva. Canva is a SaaS product. Can you make a lot of changes to the original product? No. It comes as an application. You can only do what the application allows you to do. Okay. So that is SAP by design. And finally, you have SAP. Uh, Sorry, excuse me for this. You have SAP Business One, SAP B1. Okay, so the first three on the top are in blue for the reason that they are part of the same line of product. Okay, so the coding for R3 was very similar to ECC. The coding for ECC was very similar to S4 HANA. Many screens in S4 HANA still look like R3. Many transaction codes in S4 HANA still look like R3. So they are part of the same family. Okay, and this is how the major ERP from SAP. Okay, so others are by design and business one, but let's talk about the major ERP. So how did the major ERP proceed? So R2 was launched in 1979, very popular ERP. Then came R3 in 1992. Okay, then came ECC, Enterprise Central Component, in 2004, and then came S4 HANA in 2015. Okay, this is how various ERPs have come. Now SAP has stopped supporting R3, but there's a company called Rimini Street which still supports R3. Or there are people who are in-house consultants like Sangeeta who support these organizations on R3 still. Okay, so SAP does not support R3 at all. Okay, but there are some organizations who support R3, and there are some organizations who internally support R3. Okay, and then ECC, it came in 2004. Now SAP has set a deadline saying to 2027 onwards you'll have to move to S4 HANA or we'll stop supporting you. So 90% of the organizations, or 95 or 99, will move to S4 HANA. Rest will either have in-house consultants supporting them, or they'll go to companies like Rimini Street who support them from Hyderabad in India. Okay, so that is ECC. And finally, you have S4 HANA 2015. It was launched in 2015. It's the newest ERP. Obviously, it's not so new. You can see it is almost 10 years now that the product was launched. But it is the newest ERP from SAP. Okay, from the business suite side of things. Okay, we're leaving aside B1 and by design, but the main ERP, right, the core ERP, the central ERP from SAP. This is how it has changed over the years. Okay, we're going to only talk about S4 HANA going forward, but I wanted you to know the legacy. This is the legacy, and S4 HANA gets a lot from R2. Okay, so a lot of things have stayed consistent in SAP since R2, and that's also the reason why people are so comfortable with SAP, because the code is old, the code is stable, you don't get dumps and errors, and SAP has kept adding a lot of knowledge it has gained from organizations into the core system, because of which is it's a very robust and stable system. Ultimately, as a $1 million organization, you want a stable system. That is what you get here. Okay, now what is S4 HANA? So S4 HANA is an ERP built on SAP HANA in memory database. Okay, so in a concise manner, this is S4 HANA. It's an ERP which works on SAP HANA database, and that database is an in-memory database. We'll further talk about what's an in-memory database, but right now it allows you to work on various modules. Okay, works allows you to work on finance, sales, inventory, production, human resources. There are many modules or parts of S4 HANA in on which you can work. Okay, it also allows you real-time reports. and decisions. Earlier in ECC, what used to happen was ECC was not so fast. So people used to take their data to BIBW, which was another software from. So companies used to take all their data, all their daily data to BIBW. And in BIBW, you used to run your reports. Okay. And it used to be stale reports. So if we are standing today on 27th of April, then all the data today night would move from SAP to BW, and you will be able to see your sales reports, your purchase reports tomorrow morning in BW. Okay. Now, companies did not like that fact, and therefore SAP came up with real-time business reports and decisions. Okay. HANA and S4 HANA allow you to run reports really quickly and fast, which allows you to take decisions, because of which business can plan better, faster, etc. And that's S4 HANA for you. It's user friendly. Fiori is really user friendly. Fiori is the way you can see your screens in S4 HANA. There's some Fiori also available in ECC, but all of the Fiori are available in S4 HANA. Okay, so there are about 13,000 plus applications which are available in Fiori for S4 HANA. Okay, and when I mean an application, I mean a even smaller part of the module. Okay, so if you're talking about the sales module, an application will allow you to make a sales order. If you're talking about the finance module, then application will allow you to do an accounting, okay, or asset management. So that is what is an application in Fiori. And S4HANA is flexible. You can install it in your on-premise setup. You can buy a server from IBM, okay, which is a hard big server. You put it in your office in an AC environment and you install S4HANA in it. Or you can buy space from AWS or Azure or Google, and you can install S4HANA on that as well. So it's a flexible deployment, and it is only made to work with HANA database. It is not allowed to be used with any other database. You cannot use it with MaxDB, Oracle DB, SQL DB, any other database cannot be used with SAP S4HANA. And the data model is simplified. So everything in SAP is finally at the end of the day stored in tables. Okay. And there used to be many tables for the same activity. So if you would save a data, it will go to 10 tables. And people used to find it complex later, because as a BAP, you had to fetch data from 5 tables, from 7 tables, sometimes from 10 tables. So what SAP did was they consolidated all those tables and made it into one table. Okay, because of which your it was easier, simpler for you to fetch your data. Because in SAP there's a lot of things which are done in standard, which is something which you as functional consultants would do, and there's a lot of activity which ABAP consultants do, which developers do. Okay, now when developers used to work, they used to find it very difficult. Therefore now it is a consolidated table data model where few tables can be used to access a lot of data. Okay? Now this is more detail on S4HANA. So I've talked about a few things already. S4HANA succeeds ECC, works only on HANA. It is available on the cloud. You can also do it on premise in your own server. And the memory, because of in-memory compute, the processing is fast. Okay, I'll talk about in-memory compute in the next slide. 2023 is the latest version of SAP S4HANA. Okay, and you can use all of the Fiori applications in S4HANA, 13,000 plus. There's a faster reporting because of HANA and your RAM. You have a lot of RAM in S4HANA, because of which you can do a faster reporting. Okay, and I talked about the fact that your data model is simple now. There are a few tables. Okay, we'll not talk about these tables in our sessions because these are finance and material ledger tables. However, I wanted to tell you it is a simplified data now. Uh, from ECC to S4HANA, SAP has added many functionalities, obviously because you want to sell your product. So you add new functionalities. MRP Live, Advanced ATP and other functionalities have been added to S4HANA by SAP. And I told you, you don't need to wait for stale data. BIBW is not needed any longer. You're good with SAP S/4HANA. You can run the reports here in real time and you get the answer in real time. Okay. By real time, I mean you run a report, you get a response in 1 minute or 2 minute maximum. Most of the reports I run in under 10 or 15 seconds. Okay. And this uses, okay, this is too technical for you. On premise or on cloud, we already talked about on for that. And you normally SAP suggests that you use the activate methodology to implement S4 HANA. Okay, you can still continue to use the ASAP methodology, but SAP suggests that you do activate methodology. Okay, and launch date I've already told you. Uh, and SAP Fiori app allows you to run S4 HANA on Android, iPhone, tablets, okay, on your laptops, systems, etc. Wherever you want, you can run your SAP S4 HANA. You need not only run your SAP S4 HANA on your laptop or desktop. Okay, you can run it on your phones as well. And transactions are simplified because of the new UI concept and this user interface. The new concept is a UI 5 concept. Okay, it's a simplified way of showing you transactions. Okay, so this is S4HANA for you. Now, who uses S4HANA? Why is it so important? Why do people talk about S4HANA so often? Okay, what's so important about it? So 78% of the world's food moves through S4HANA. Okay, 82% of the world's medical devices are sold through SAP S4HANA. 99 of the 100 largest companies in the world are SAP customers. Okay, and 85 of the largest 100 companies in the world are already SAP S4 HANA customers. So when the biggest ones are using S4 HANA, you understand the potential of S4 HANA. Why? Because each of these companies, when they implement SAP, when they upgrade SAP, okay, or when they migrate from one version to another, they use thousands of consultants at the same time. For example, Unilever is now thinking of moving from ECC to S4HANA. The target is to start in 2025. And when Unilever embarks on this project, you'll at least have 500 to 1000 consultants around the world working only and only on the Unilever project. Okay. Now that's the kind of consulting resources needed for one project. Okay. And that's why these big companies are so important, right? Because they set the tone for the whole industry. What these companies do, others follow. Now, these companies are looking at AI, so others are also looking at AI. Okay, these companies are moving to S4 HANA, so others are also trying to move to S4 HANA. Right now, these are the existing databases you could use with ECC. I just told you ECC was the older version. Some of you are still working on ECC. Okay, and that's also the reason why you are here. These are the various databases you could use. Now, database, remember, it is also a software. It's a software which allows you to store data. Database, base for the data. Okay, it's a software which allows you to store data. And okay, and what is that? It is your knowledge of the organization, your customer data, your material data, your vendor data, your product data, your employee data, your financial data. All of that needs to be stored. So with ECC, you could use DB2, which was a database made by IBM, or SQL, which was from Microsoft, or Oracle DB from Oracle, or MaxDB from SAP, or Sybase DB from SAP, or also HANA DB from SAP. These were the 6 databases you could use with ECC. Okay. However, with SAP S4 HANA, you can only use the HANA database. Okay. Only the HANA database. Not use DB2 or Sybase or Max or Oracle or SQL. It is only and only HANA database that you can use. And just look at the fact, before SAP developed HANA, they already bought two databases to have a team which could actually develop the HANA product for them. Okay, so already two organizations They bought two products they bought so that they have had a team in place to make the HANA database. Okay. This is an in-memory database. This does not work in the hard disk. This works in the RAM. Okay. This keeps most of your data in the RAM for your faster processing. Most of your data resides in the RAM. Okay. For example, I don't know if you have known or understood or talked to your basis consultants. In earlier days, your SAP used to have a RAM size of 8 GB, 12 GB, 16 GB. So almost a RAM which is there in your phone or in your laptop, that's the kind of RAM your ECC would have. Okay, that's why it would be slow and dull and boring. In HANA, in S4 HANA and HANA, you have RAM starting from 256 GB. Okay, 256 GB is the smallest RAM memory module which you can have. Okay, now think of the kind of data it can hold and the kind of speeds it can provide. And for a contextual purpose, a RAM access, reading data from the RAM is 100 times faster than reading data from a hard disk. Okay, so when you're running a report, it can run 100 times faster just because the data is sitting in the RAM. Okay, that's the beauty of RAM, and that has been utilized properly in the HANA database. And because it's so fast, it allows you real-time analytics and processing. Okay, your transactions happen faster. You're creating 100 customers from an Excel sheet. It used to take maybe 2 hours earlier. Now it would not take more than 5 minutes now. Okay, uh, and then it also allows you to store other data. It allows you to store text data, streaming data, spatial data. All of that data also you can store in your HANA database. You can keep a large amount of data and you can do complex queries. You can ask different kind of questions to HANA, and HANA is still able to answer those questions to you. Okay, so for those of you who are from USA, they should know that NBA, which is your basketball league, uses HANA database to store its streaming data. All of its streaming data is stored in the HANA database, and NBA then uses the HANA database for a lot of analytics on their streaming. Okay, now this is a use case for HANA, just for you to remember. Uh, and you can have various data models. Okay, now for you who are not aware of OLAP and OLTP, I'll just talk about these two things for a second so that you understand. Okay, it's online transactional processing, which means you can make your purchase orders faster, your sales order faster, your invoices faster, and online analytics processing, which is your reports faster. You want to see the list of all your employees, go ahead, do it in a second. All your sales done in the last 1 month, go ahead, do it in a second. All the customers who've been working with you for the last 1 year, okay, go ahead and do it in 10 seconds. So online analytical processing and online transactional processing. Okay, so fast analytics, fast transactions, and this is basically your HANA database. Okay, developed by SAP to be used with SAP ECC and S4 HANA. So it can be used with two ERPs, ECC and S4 HANA. HANA is not S4 HANA. HANA is the database and S4 HANA is the ERP. Always remember that. As a consultant in an interview, if you say HANA, I've learned HANA, they'll start asking you questions on the HANA DB. Whereas you should actually say I've learned S4 HANA. Okay. HANA also means a flower in Japanese. That's where they picked up the name and looked like a beautiful name. They've also given the full form for the acronym, which is High Performance Analytical Appliance. Okay, so it's high performance and it's an analytical appliance. Why? It allows you to do a lot of analytics very fast. Analytics means reports, and appliance means it's a software, it's a product, it's an appliance which allows you to do that. It can only be run on the Linux server. Would not impact you a lot, but you should know it works only on the Linux server. An entire data set resides in RAM. Okay, and operations are executed in RAM. Right. So if all your data resides in the RAM, all your data is in the memory, and operations, which are any queries, any questions, any report, is run from the RAM to get super fast access to data. Okay, and that is why you basically have HANA. Otherwise, if there's no speed, what's the point of having HANA? Okay, and HANA is a column based DB. Earlier DBs used to be row based DB. Row number one, row number two, three, four, etc. Every row used to have data, and that's how you would get your data. From row to row, the database would move and fetch you the data. HANA is a column based DB. Okay. So if you want to, say if you are in a class, you have stored information of all your students, and you want to fetch information for the roll number 21. Okay, then what it does, it looks at the column, which is the roll number column, and directly goes to 21 and then fetches you the data from 21. Okay, that's how it works. And I just told you it replaces databases like Sybase, Max, DB2, Oracle, SQL, etc. You cannot use these databases any longer. HANA has replaced these databases. Okay, now the module we are going to talk about is the sales module, or the sales and distribution module. And these are the various modules of SAP, or the parts of SAP, which interact with each other and which also interact with the central module called the finance module. Okay, so sales and distribution is one module. Production planning, which is used for production, is another module. Controlling is another module. Okay, it's a very important module for finance controllers. One of them are here today. Materials management module. Project systems module for companies who work on projects, like developers, okay, or people who make airports, or people who work as a project in their organizations. For them, PS module is very important. Quality management module, right? Customers are more aware about quality now, so you have to have a good decent quality. So the QM module. The LE module, or the logistics execution module, this allows you to do shipment costs, shipment documents, etc. Control your shipments is what this allows you. And the warehouse management module, where you do manage your warehouses. Okay, so all these modules talk to the central module, and they also have a lot of interconnections within each other. They speak to each other as well, very often and very frequently. So for example, the sales module talks to the W module to get stock, to sell stock. Similarly, it talks to the MM module. It talks to the PP module for cases where you have a make to order situation. Okay, you take an order and then you produce. Think of Indigo and Airbus. Indigo has given an order of 100 aeroplanes to Airbus. So the order has been taken by Airbus and then production has started. Okay, so for that, what would happen is the order came into Airbus from the sales module, and then they started their production. Okay, when the product is available, when a plane is available, they tell back to the sales module, and the sales module then delivers the aeroplane to Indigo in India. Okay, so that's how you talk. Similarly, sales module talks to most of the modules here. Okay, or almost, or all the modules here actually. Okay, finance also talks to everyone, but sales module has an integration going with each of them. Okay, depending on which project you are in, which kind of work you are doing, every module, sales module, can talk to. Okay, now these are the dates for S4 HANA. 2011 is when HANA was launched. 2015 is when S4 HANA was launched. And then every year SAP keeps coming with newer versions of S4 HANA. Okay, so 2015 to 2023, you have many versions which are coming, and the latest version is 2023. This is just this in a simple way tells you the way you have moved from the start of HANA DB to your S4 HANA 2023 now, which is the latest version. Okay, and I was talking to you about the advantage of S4 HANA over ECC. ECC had a small RAM, so constantly a lot of data had to be swapped. So you had to send data to the disk, get back data from the disk. Send data, get back data. Some of you, if you keep your hand on your laptop on the right side bottom, you will be able to see the hard disk moving. Okay, so there are actually steel plates inside the hard disk, which store your data. Your data is etched on the steel plates, that's and also retrieved from the steel plates. So the steel plates are actually physically moving inside that hard disk, which is placed inside your laptop. Okay, this is for old laptops. Now, because of this, the RAM was small, so it could not keep all the data. So it constantly asked data from the disk, and the disk is a physical disk which is moving, moving, moving. Therefore, the data access was slow. Right? RAM could not get data very fast. RAM could not give you data very fast, and RAM could also not store a lot of data. So therefore, things were slow. And with the coming of S4 HANA, what has happened is your RAM is as big as the disk. So RAM fetches data from the disk and keeps in the RAM. Why? It does not need to delete that data. The RAM is so big now that it can keep 99% of your data here. And obviously, not all of your data is needed at all times. But still, it keeps all of your data or almost all of your data in your RAM, because of which you can fetch it easily, fetch it faster, and the need of going to the hard disk is very less. Okay, things are kept in the hard disk to ensure that that you do not lose that data. So obviously, disk is important, but things are most of the activity is done with the RAM. Okay, because RAM allows you to fetch data really quickly. Okay, and the disks have also changed. For those of you who know SSDs, as for HANA, SAP expects you to use SSDs in the disk. They now do not expect you to use your hard disk drives. Okay, so it's not a hard disk any longer. There are no hard steel plates moving. It's a SSD. Okay, now before I come to this, now what this is, so HCM, SAP HCM would more work on screens like this. Okay, okay. Now this is the kind of screen you see in SAP HCM, right? Now you and me might be comfortable using this, but with all the softwares which have come up in the world and the ease of functionality of those softwares and the clean core way in which those softwares look, okay, and especially on the HR front, when you have softwares from Shine, from Times Jobs, from LinkedIn, which are really clean with a white background and gray text and properly organized, then screens like this look odd and old to people. Okay, not that HCM is a bad product. HCM is a fantastic product, but the screens, remember, the screens are, some of them are from 1979. Okay, and these used to be remarkable screens in 1979. Come 2024, these might not look as appealing to you as it did in 1979. Okay, so that is also one reason why people are more attracted towards success factors, because success factors is set up the new way. It uses the UI5 methodology to make great screens, a lot of white area, a lot of gray text and gray boxes, etc., because of which people find it comfortable and interesting to use the software. Okay, if someone asks you to put a leave application on such a software, you'll find it cumbersome and difficult, versus going to a page, just selecting two dates and selecting the leave type and putting your uh, apply button. Okay, versus a screen which is like this, people will find it difficult and cumbersome. The software is not bad, it's just that the UI is old, which is why people don't like it as much. Okay, so that's my answer to you for HCM and success factors. And also for HCM, if you are using success factors, your core data will still come from HCM. So for you to use success factors, your payroll will still work on HCM. So that is the kind of a thing which will happen. Okay, so it's your HCM is still important. Okay, Now sales and distribution, as the name says, is a module which is used for selling and distributing. Okay, so you make things in the plant. From the plant you need to move them to the warehouse. Not everything can be lying in the plant, right? Not every plant has the capacity to keep a lot of finished goods. So you need to move your finished goods from the plant to your warehouse. Okay, so that is one. Second is you also need to sell your stuff. Okay, so from your warehouse you need to sell to supermarkets, you need to sell to mom and pop stores. Okay, so you need to sell your stuff, you need to sell your stuff to dealers, distributors. All of that needs to be done. For all of that you need to use the sales and distribution module of SAP. Okay, so for your sales, your distribution, and your distribution. Okay, so distributing your products from your warehouses, from your plants to mom and pop stores, to big bazaars, to Reliance, to Walmart, etc., is all sales and distribution. Now the master data which is relevant here is your customers. Okay, so you need to make master data, which is important data for this thing to run. Okay, so what are the most important things? Your customer, who are you selling to, and what are you selling? So customer and your materials, so your finished goods. So if you're Coca-Cola, then Coca-Cola starting 200 ml up to 2.25 liter. All of them are materials. 200 ml, 400 ml, 500 ml, 600 ml, 750 ml, 850 ml, 1 liter, 1.5 liter, 2 liters, 2.25 liters. All of them are materials in the system, which are master data, which you would use to sell to your customers. Okay, so this is your sales and distribution. Then you have your purchasing. Now, if you are Coca-Cola or Pepsi, you will need to purchase CO2 on a daily basis. You will need to do a lot of purchase of sugar. You will need to purchase a lot of glass bottles. You'll need to purchase a lot of plastic bulbs, which will then be blown and made into plastic bottles. You will need to purchase a lot of caps, plastic caps and metal caps. Okay, you'll need to purchase a lot of crates. All of that purchasing happens in a module called the materials management module. Okay, so the module allows you to purchase goods from your vendors. So the master data, or the most important data which you will use here, are your vendors and your materials. Now the materials in this case would be your raw materials, right? You will not buy finished goods to sell your finished goods. Sometimes you will do that as well, but that is a trading organization. So for example, if Big Bazaar implements SAP, then Big Bazaar will purchase Pepsi 2.25 liter, sell Pepsi 2.25 liter. So buying is same as selling. So the material you buy is the material you sell. However, for production organizations, the material you buy is the raw material. The material you sell is the finished goods. Okay, so you buy something else, you process it, and you sell the finished good. Okay, someone was saying we make products for Honda, Amaze, etc. Okay, so what you would be buying would be steel. What you would be buying would be rubber gaskets. Okay, and then you would be converting your uh, steel, which is your pipe steel, your sheet metal steel, making parts out of that and selling it to Honda. Okay, so your purchasing is separate from your sales. Then your inventory management, you need to manage your inventory. Inventory is stock. You need to manage your stock. Your stocks would be for raw materials, your stocks would be for semi finished goods, or your stocks would be for finished goods. Okay, for example, if you are a company producing goods for Honda, so you buy sheet metal, which is rolled sheets. You cut them and keep them so that you can make parts out of them. Okay, and later you manufacture the parts. So you have raw materials, you have semi finished goods, and you have finished goods. All of those three kind of products need to be managed for inventory. right? Your MD, your CFO, your CEO, your plant head, each of them should have an idea of how much stock you have of which kind of material. Okay, so raw material, how much stock, where is it lying? Semi finished good, how much stock, where is it lying? Finished goods, how much stock, where is it lying? All of that you can do in materials management module. Then you have the production planning. Okay, you need to plan your production. This is a module of SAP which allows you to plan your production. How many production lines do I have? When I mean a line, it's actually a line because production happens in a line, and it has been proven that production in a line is faster than any other form of production. So you start from raw material, you keep adding value to that raw material till you are finally able to make the finished good and pack it and move it out. Okay. So how many work centers you have in your production line? Work center, a center in which work is done, or an area in which a work is done. Work centers, work areas, how many of them do you have? What's the value you are adding? What is the kind of product you are manufacturing? What are the raw materials which will be used for that manufacturing? Okay, how many raw material of how much quantity will be used for your finished good? Okay, once you have made the finished good, you need to reduce the stock of the raw material and increase the stock of the finished good. All of those things you can do it in the production planning module. You are planning for your production. In that, what are you using? You are using raw materials, semi-finished goods and finished goods. As resources, you are using electricity, you are using fuel, you are using your machines, you are using your manpower, you are using space on the shop floor. Okay, all of that is being used to do your production. So this is your production planning module. Then you have the warehouse management module. Now if you want to go a step further than inventory management, and you want to manage your inventory by aisles and bins, which aisle, which shelf, which bin, okay, which floor number 0, floor number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which aisle, which floor, which bin is my finished good kept in, and what is the quantity which is kept there. If you go into this level of detail and you want to manage properly, so that anyone who is given an address can go and pick the stock and not do an error, it is called warehouse management. All your Amazon warehouses are warehouse managed, or your Blinkit warehouses or Zomato or Grofers warehouses are warehouse managed. Why? You do not have the time to make a mistake. If you are saying that your Bata men's shoe, black color, star quality, 9 size, okay, is available on floor number 1 in bin number 2, then that is where it should be kept. If it is not kept there, you are wasting time as a e-commerce organization, and time is of essence for you. Okay, so you cannot have a common material management. Okay, so things are kept here. You cannot say that. You'll have to be very specific on where the things are kept. And if you want to be specific, then you need to use something called warehouse management. This is a module. Okay, the master data in this module is your shelf, your racks. Okay, and majorly what you use is your material master. So your finished goods or your raw materials are kept in warehouse managed warehouses. Then you have your logistics execution module. Now this module allows you to have a cost for your trucks. So if you are PepsiCo and you are sending 5,000 trucks to different customers and warehouses throughout India every day, then you need to manage the cost of that truck. What is the cost of shipment? Are you willing to go from Sangareddy to Bangalore? Sangareddy is the production plant, Bangalore is the customer. Are you willing to go from Sangareddy to Bangalore? Okay. If you are willing to go, what is your truck size? In this truck size, how many crates can go? Okay. What are you charging me for these 300 kilometers? Okay, all of that you can manage in the logistics execution module. Okay, this is an old module which used to come free of cost in the SAP ECC and S4 HANA. The newer version of this is also called transportation management, or the TM module, which is a very new enhanced module which allows you to do a lot more than logistics execution, but you have to pay for the TM module. The beauty of LE is that you do not need to pay extra. If you bought S for HANA, you can use the LE module. Then you have the plant maintenance module. Okay, so for production guys, your maintenance is very important. Okay, you can do preventive maintenance, okay, which is maintain your things in time before a breakdown happens, or you can do breakdown maintenance, which is something breaks down and now you are maintaining it to make sure that it is in order. So your car service is an example of a preventive maintenance, and when your car breaks down and you go take it to the workshop is an example of a breakdown maintenance. So same things happen in the factory as well. So your plant maintenance module basically integrates with finance. So you get to know how much, uh, how many parts you use, what's the value of those parts, how frequently are you changing those parts, is one machine costing you more than another, is one module better or worse than the other model, because one model is breaking down more frequently, the other model takes time to break down. All of those things you get to know of and understand in the plant maintenance module. Okay, so this majorly talks about your plant and various assets which are there in the plant which need to be maintained. Then you have the quality management module. So if you are PepsiCo, you want to ensure that when you have manufactured your bottles, when you manufactured your drink, there is there is no lead, there is no trace of any other harmful chemical in the drinks which have been manufactured. So one, you first start by testing your sugar, you test your CO2, you test your water which you are getting from MCD. Okay, you test you test the plastic bottles that you buy from your suppliers. Okay, you test your glass bottles for cleanliness, and finally when everything is manufactured, you take samples and you also test your finished goods. So is my finished good up to the mark or not? Are there traces of arsenic? Are there traces of any hard substance in my Pepsi? Because you do not want complaints to come in. So that is quality management. Okay. If you are a supplier to Honda and you are say supplying doors, or you are supplying some parts or some motors to Honda, then you are going to ensure that your finish is up to the mark. Okay. The weight is as per Honda standards. The width is as per Honda standards. The height is as per Honda standards. The finishing is as per Honda standards. All of those things you'll use various instruments to test, and all the answers that you get, you're going to record in the QM module. Okay, forever. Why? Because tomorrow if Honda has a problem and Honda has to recall its vehicles, the Honda is going to come back to you and ask you, did you do a quality management for this product? Because we feel your product is a problem. Show us the result for your quality management. So if you don't have the quality management installed, you will not be able to give them answers for whether you actually checked the product properly. However, if you have it installed and everything is in the system, you can easily show them a report and say that, see, we checked everything, everything was in order according to your specifications and standards, and that is why we dispatched the product to you. Okay. Now coming into another version or thought of our session today, which is who is a SAP consultant. So SAP consultant is a person who consults organization or provides his services to organizations for them to be able to use SAP more efficiently. Okay. So there are two kind of consultants, functional consultant and technical consultant. A functional consultant works for functions or these modules which I have talked to you about. Okay. So he does the business part of things. Okay. So he talks to business, understands their business processes, tell them if there's a problem, tries to map those processes into SAP, tries to run those processes in SAP, talks to them on a daily basis for those processes, solve their issues related to processes. That's the functional part. So you have a SD consultant, you have a MM consultant, FI consultant, CO consultant, PP consultant, PS consultant, WM consultant, PM consultant, QM consultant, as per the various modules I have shown to you. You also have technical consultants. Now these are people who do technical work in SAP. Okay, so these are guys like a basis consultant. So a basis consultant installs SAP. If you get an error in SAP, he looks at that error. If you are not able to open your SAP, he looks at that error. He gives you authorization to do your configuration. He does gives you authorization to view reports. He gives you access to the part of the system that you need. That is a basis consultant. There's a ABAP consultant, advanced business application programming consultant, who writes code with your help. So if you are a functional consultant, you will work with a ABAP consultant to write code. Okay, you will not write code. The ABAP consultant will write code. You will tell him in English what's the kind of work that you need to be done. Okay, so you'll write English language for him in a Word document or a PPT, and he will write a program to you, give it back to you. You will run the program and see if it is the way you want. So for example, if you want a screen where this guy can put the measurements. Okay, SAP has given you the screen, you don't like the screen, you want a simpler screen, very simple screen with 2 3 fields. What do? You do is you go to the web consultant and tell him, see, this guy is on the floor. On the floor, he does not have a lot of time to enter things in the system. He is mostly working with machines. He can only put a little data in the system. So can we make it easier from here for him? This is how we think we can make it easier for him. Can you please program it? So this guy will make the program and show you the screen and tell you, please test it, is it according to your standards? So that's a ABAP consultant. Similarly, you have a Fiori consultant who makes Fiori applications, who runs Fiori applications, and you work with a Fiori consultant as well. Most of the time as functional consultants, you will be working with ABAP consultants and basis consultants for doing your job. On a daily basis, a functional consultant, which is you, are going to talk to your end users, understand their issues, problems, and requirements, and help them design in the system if there are requirements. If there are problems, you'll help them solve them. Okay. Like Durgesh said, I am an end user. I keep talking about my problems and requirements to my consultants, and they do things for me in the SAP system. And I love the fact that they can help me in doing my job better. So similarly, as a functional consultant, you will talk to your end users, you will take requirements and issues from them, you will give them solutions, you will give them a design. If they love the design, you will do it in the systems. That is what you do on a daily basis. And as a student of SAP, what can you do? Right. So you can be a consultant. So many of you said you want to be consultants. That's remarkable. You can be part of the internal IT team, like Sangeeta here. Okay, so she's part of the internal IT team. She's an internal consultant. Okay, so people are part of internal teams as well. So someone, say in Unilever has a 200 strong team sitting in Bangalore, which takes care of their SAP ECC. 200 people sitting in Bangalore taking care of SAP ECC. Okay, they are not from Infosys, Wipro, TCS, HCL, Deloitte, etc. They are internal guys, okay, who are sitting inside the organization and helping the organization. You can also be a remarkable SAP end user. Okay, you've learned SAP, you do not need to be a consultant. You can also be a remarkable end user. Why? You can question. Okay, we get educated not to do that work. We learn science, physics, chemistry, biology, maths, geography, civics in our classes, not because we'll be geologists or we'll be politicians or we'll be physicists, but because we can ask relevant question in our lives. Same is the point of view here. If you are a SAP user and you understand SAP well, you will be able to ask better questions. You will be able to get a better job done from the consultants who are there in your organization. Okay. So there is no harm in spending this time, effort, and money into becoming a better end user. Okay. And finally, if you want, you can become a freelancer. You can open your own organization or be part of projects. There are a lot of freelancing opportunities available outside India and US, etc., where people join a project for 2 months, 3 months, 1 month, 1 week also, make some money, help solve a certain thing in the project, and come out. This is a sample which I picked up from LinkedIn, and there are so many people. So I saw a post. There are so many people on LinkedIn who say they are SD consultants. There's so many people who say they are basis consultants. The percentage is the total percentage of people who call themselves SAP consultants. Okay, so the most used modules, or the module which has the most consultants, are ABAP, FICO, MM, Basis, SD, and BIW. These are the modules which has the most number of consultants, at least according to LinkedIn. Okay, the actual figures might differ a little, but it's LinkedIn. It is so big now that it is a good sample of what is happening in the real world. Okay, so SD is one of the most used modules, because of which you also have a large number of consultants on the SD space. And your career would normally look like this. If you want to become a consultant, for those who do not, then obviously you do not need to worry about this. But you'll start as a consultant, become a senior consultant, then move on to become a module lead, then a module SME, and then if you want, you can become a solution architect, or you can change your course and you can get into project management or program management. People outside India normally continue to work as SMEs, which are subject matter experts. They are so expert at SD that they go into a project, within a day they realize what is wrong. They help solve that issue in that project and come back to their location. Okay, sometimes 5 days, sometimes 2 days, but they have so much experience on that. Okay, so it's like going to senior doctors and paying a lot of money, and they telling you within minutes what your actual problem is. Okay, so that's the level you come to when you come to this. And these are the kind of projects that you have in the SAP system. uh, so you could be part of an implementation project. You could do implementation for your customers. Okay, which is implement SAP. This is also called a greenfield project. You could be part of support, where you provide support services to an organization already on SAP. Support them on ECC or S4 HANA. They're already using S4 HANA, they get issues every day, and you're supporting them, helping their end users solve those issues. You can do an upgrade project. Someone is who is on an older version of S4 HANA. Say someone installed S4 HANA in 1809. Now, S4 HANA has a cycle of 5 years. After 5 years, SAP does not support the older version. So these guys need to move from the older version to the newer version. You can be part of the upgrade project as well. Upgrade to a newer version. Okay. You can be part of that project. Or you can be part of migrations from ECC to S4 HANA. Okay. You can help them move from ECC to S4 HANA. Those are big projects coming your way. If there are 100 companies who are on ECC, 65 of them are still on ECC. These companies need to move from ECC to S4 HANA in the next 4 years. There's going to be a tremendous amount of migration projects which are going to come in the next 4 years. Okay, we are already short of consultants. There are at least a shortage of 25 to 30% on the consulting front. We do not have as many consultants as are needed for the migration. Okay, then you can do global rollouts. Say a company like Unilever, they start with S4 HANA in India, then they do S4 HANA in London, then they use S4 HANA in the Western Europe, then the Eastern Europe, Then they do S4 HANA in America. Then they do it in Canada. Then they do it in South America. They do global rollouts, and you can be part of their global rollouts forever. Okay, forever. Why? Because Unilever took 12 years to have global rollouts for their ECC. They might have a similar number of years for their S4 HANA as well. Okay, so you will almost be there with them forever. Finally, you can be part of integration projects. You can integrate SAP with Salesforce, with dealer management systems, with document management systems. You can integrate with Amazon, with Flipkart. You can integrate SAP with tons of systems. Okay, and as part of the integration, a functional consultant is needed. Why? Because the ABAP guy will write the programs for the integration, but it's a functional consultant who can actually tell what is to be done. So, for example, if Salesforce needs customers, okay, who will tell which table to pick, which field to pick, how many customers are to be sent, whether one customer is to be sent, the other is not to be sent. You, as functional consultants, are going to do this. And finally, cloud migration. So company is on premise, they have SAP on their own servers. Now they want to move SAP to AWS servers or Google servers or Microsoft servers. When the SAP is moved, the whole lot of testing needs to be done again. Is SAP working properly or not? Is every process working or not? Is all the data in place or not? Could we get all the customers from here to there? Could we take all the vendors from here to there? Could we take all the materials from here to there? All of those things you'll tell them when you are part of these projects.